Ren! Hang in there, Ren!
Ren loves...
Ren! Ah! No, this isn't happening! There's no reason for me to go on! What am I fighting for? You had another nightmare, didn't you? Yeah. This time it was about the day Ren died. That one's coming up a lot lately. I think it's because Takiya's really close now. You haven't had a proper night's sleep since he was released. Are you sure you're going to be able to fight him when the time comes? Like I said, I beat him once, and I can beat him again. It doesn't matter how tired I am. This really isn't a question as to whether you can beat him or not. The real question is, are you willing to kill him this time? Cloud, that's a line I just won't cross. Because then you'll be just as bad as him? Kay, the time for morality when it comes to Takiya passed a long time ago. Face the facts. He can't be allowed to continue on. If he is, then he'll kill everybody you hold dear to you. Yeah, I know, but if... You think I'd hesitate for a second to take down Sephiroth for good? I can't afford to. This isn't a matter of being morally just. Sometimes we have to cross that line if it means protecting the things and the people who matter. You do make a valid argument, but still. Just remember, Kay, you spared him once, and he came back. I know. I also know I'll do anything to protect the two people that matter most to me. Anything. To protect the people that I love. Well, this was, without a doubt, one of the worst anime I have ever seen in my life. It was a poorly written, perverted piece of rubbish with terrible characters and a practically non-existent plot which contradicts itself at every turn. It wasn't funny in the slightest. At least Love Hina made me laugh once. This series couldn't even handle that because its plot and characters are so horrendously written.
Wow, I don't think there's ever been an anime so far that's made him this angry.
Okay, I just want to make one point clear to everybody. Yes, perverted humour does bother me. I can't stand it when an anime, good or bad, makes perverted jokes. I don't think it sets a good example to the younger viewers who are going through a difficult and confusing time, because it makes them think that being a pervert is okay, which it isn't at all. However, I would get past the perverted humour if the plot was actually good. Yes, it would still bother me, but I'd be willing to move past that if the plot was good and kept me entertained and actually made me care about the characters and what situation they're in. And there have been anime that have done that. Mahoramatic, well, at least the first season, is a good example of this. There are tons of breast and sex jokes in this series, but I'm willing to move past that because the plot is actually good and has some really good themes to it. Well, at least the first season does. However, in the case of Heaven's Lost Property, I don't just hate it because of the perverted humour, I hate it because the plot is bad. Not only bad, but stupid as well. If it were just a case of it being bad, I would have just shrugged it off as being a forgettable series. But the plot and writing of this series is actually stupid. So stupid, in fact, that it actually feels like an insult to my intelligence that the creators thought that this was actually passable writing.
When it's an insult to KHF's intelligence, you know it's bad.
This isn't competent storytelling. It's insulting that you think people would buy into this poorly written, plot-hole-ridden piece of rubbish. But the thing that really gets my goat is that people do buy into this. There are people who think this qualifies as a good plot. This genuinely makes me worry about the intellect of people these days. If they think this piece of absolute dribble qualifies as passable writing, then there's something wrong with society today. I want to clear something up for the younger viewers out there. It is okay to dislike some anime. Bad anime do exist, but that's okay. Look, I understand you're probably going through a bit of a rough time, and you might use anime as a bit of an escapism from that bad time. However, you can't avoid bad things in life forever, or just pretend they don't exist. That's just not happening. Because that's just part of life. Bad things do happen, and they're unavoidable. However, just because bad things may happen every now and again, doesn't mean that good things are never going to happen for you. It's our ability to move on past the bad things and keep believing that the good things are going to come afterwards that help us as human beings to keep on going. If you're just going to pretend that the bad things don't exist, then you're never going to move forward. However, if you accept the bad things and are willing to work through them one step at a time, then won't the good things actually mean more when they eventually do come? Look, deluding yourself into thinking that there aren't bad anime is, well, just that. It's a delusion. It doesn't make the bad things go away. Accepting that there are bad anime isn't going to suddenly make the bad things come back. They've always been there, you're just choosing to pretend that they aren't. Even if you do pretend that all anime are good, it's not going to make your problems go away. Yes, with a good anime you can forget about your troubles temporarily, but you do have to be willing to face them again once it's over. The point that I'm trying to illustrate with all this is that it is okay to dislike some anime. It doesn't mean that bad things are going to happen. It also doesn't mean that you're a bad person for thinking as such. It's okay to dislike some things. You don't have to like everything. It doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you human. We all have things we like and dislike. You can't like everything, it's just not happening. Just be honest with yourself about what you like and what you don't like.
Wow, Kay. That was surprisingly noble of you.
I have my moments, Emma. Anyway, back on to what made this anime so bad. Like I said before, the plot is stupid and insulting to your intelligence. Now, you could make the argument, just switch your brain off, but even in doing that, it still comes off as moronic. That's not a good thing.
Isn't your brain always switched off, Kay?
The characters? Oh, the characters were awful. But we'll get back into that in a bit. So many plot twists that felt like they were pulled out of their rear end. In fact, the entire series in general feels like it was pulled out of their rear end. One can only suspend their disbelief so far. There has to come a point where you say, okay, maybe this is stupid. Maybe thinking this passes for quality storytelling is going to make the viewers feel insulted. I am insulted that you think I'm so moronic that I'll just buy whatever you put in front of me. Alright, I can accept robotic angels that fall from another world inside of a black hole in the sky. As silly as that sounds. But when you're intentionally adding the most random of twists just for the sake of adding twists, then please forgive my language, but you're full of crap. Oh, and the way it objectifies women is just disgusting. Look, a woman's ability as a human being has nothing to do with the size of her breasts. It's all about the kind of person she is, you stupid, perverted ignoramuses. To put it simply, this anime is dumb. Though, in hindsight, I really should have seen this coming.
Watch this anime, but beware, it carries a terrible curse.
Ooh, that's bad.
But it comes with a free robot.
That's good.
The robot is a boring character.
That's bad.
But there are only 13 episodes.
That's good.
The episodes are moronic and misogynistic drivel that makes sane men seethe with rage. That's bad. Can I go now?
I guess I only have myself to blame for watching this smut. But in any case, what makes the plot of each episode truly terrible is that you established there's a fail-safe way to get out of things in the first episode! You established that with her cards, Icarus can accomplish anything! Anything! Apart from cancelling a request, but that in itself is complete rubbish, but I've already gone over that. One of those things established was that she can reverse time and make everything feel as if it were a bad dream. So why that is never used again when things get bad is anybody's guess. I never felt like there was any real peril because you've established that there's a way to get out of it that's so simple even Tomaki could figure it out. Don't establish that there's an escape method and then never use it because you make your characters look incompetent as a result. Oh, there were flying and exploding panties about. Well then just have Icarus reverse time to before this all started, you morons! Oh, and speaking of the flying panties episode, yes, that was actually a plot, and a stupid one at that. I can point out at least 30 things that were absolute rubbish with that episode, starting with the premise itself, but instead, I'm gonna just talk about the two biggest issues with that episode. First, why did Tomaki wish for handcuffs? For that matter, why did he use them? Surely even a moron like him could figure out that that's just gonna make the situation worse. Oh, you wanted to protect yourself from Sohea's karate chops. Well, she can't exactly do that when she's using her hands to hold down her skirt, now can she? So why the handcuffs? Second, they say the way to resolve this situation is to have Sohea keep trying on panties until they find a pair that Tomaki would like, and so therefore they'll stop flying off. Do you know what the solution to that is? Ask him which pair he likes! But no, they never do that! They just keep having her try a load of different pairs on until they find a pair that won't fly off. That's just a stupid way to pad out the episode! Especially when the actual solution is so simple that anyone with more than half a brain cell could figure it out. Do you see what I mean about this series being a stupid insult to your intelligence? Oh, and don't even get me started on the stupid logic of the exploding panties episode. The fact that Tomaki can survive a series of explosions, or the fact that he looks at Sohea's panties twice and they explode, but yet she doesn't die, and the second time this happens, they're within close range to him, but they're both perfectly fine, and yet somehow she gets blown to behind where he was facing. Whatever kind of logic that makes, it's just... Ah! Why do they think that people are this stupid? In fact, why are people being this stupid and buying this rubbish? But I think I've established that the plot is stupid enough now. Time to move on to discussing the characters, because believe me, there's a lot to say. Let's start with the main character himself, the perverted ignoramus Tomaki. Tomaki is an absolutely disgusting excuse for a human being. Always treating women as if they're objects. Never doing anything for anybody else unless he's browbeaten into it. There are only 2, maybe 3 occasions where he actually does something for somebody else without having to be forced or tricked into it. However, these cases do not excuse his horrible attitude towards women. Tomaki, women are not objects. They're human beings with feelings just like you. Now, yes, we all get urges. That's normal. Male or female, everybody gets urges. Heck, even I get urges. It's just human. However, it's one thing to get urges. It's another thing entirely to act on them in the simply horrible manner in which he does. He's completely fine with being a pervert. He doesn't feel any shame about it. And again, what kind of example does that set for the younger viewers? I know they shouldn't be watching this anime in the first place, but the fact is they're going to. If they see this kind of behaviour from him, they're going to think that being a pervert is okay, which it isn't. Let's make a comparison and look at Hideki Motosuwa from the anime Chobits. Yes, he's a pervert as well. But the difference is, he doesn't like that about himself. He doesn't like it when he gets those urges and thinks of his female friends in such a manner. He tries to fight against it. Tomaki, however, is perfectly fine with it and doesn't do a thing to try and change that about himself. Or, let's take an even better example. In Are My Goddess Season 2, it's shown that, despite his pure heart, even Keiichi gets those kind of urges every now and again. However, despite this, I never once thought of him as a pervert. In fact, the fact that he gets these urges and doesn't act on them in a perverted manner makes him feel like a more human and believable character as a result. That series showed that you can have urges and yet not be a pervert. Very few anime seem to realise this. Wow, showing that you can have urges and yet not be a pervert. This is just another reason why Are My Goddess is better than every other anime ever. Also, Tomaki, you do not talk to women in the rude manner in which you do. Ever! A man must never take that kind of rude and offensive tone towards a woman. A man must also never raise his hand to a woman. He's completely fine with yelling at, hitting and hurting Icarus whenever she screws up. I don't care if she's a machine, you don't act like that towards a woman. Not to mention the rude manner in which he speaks to Sahara. But ho, people are gonna say to me, but he is a good person, really. But the thing is, he isn't. At all. All the moments that are meant to make you think that he's actually a decent person are so badly tacked on that I wasn't buying any of them. Oh, he used to take the collars off of stray puppies when he was a kid because he didn't believe in them having owners. Seriously? You're gonna try the whole being nice to puppies thing to try and win me over? Rubbish! First of all, if a puppy has a collar, odds are it's not a stray. Second, just because its owner makes it wear a collar doesn't mean that they're abusive. It's just a means of identifying them if they go missing, so that it's easier to find them. Third, Sahara says he used to try and cut the collars off. Why exactly do you need to cut them off? Wouldn't it be easier to just, oh, gee, I don't know, undo the buckle, perhaps? Even a child could figure that out. So no, I'm not buying into the whole saving puppies thing. Oh, I won't deny that there are moments where he does seem to show that he has at least a shred of decency left in him. But the thing is, they don't seem to be building towards any sort of character development because he just goes back to being his perverted and abusive self in the next 5 minutes. I am so sick and tired of male anime characters acting like complete and total scumbags, but then getting off the hook with the fans the second that they do something nice. However, with female characters, they're branded as a cow for life if they do something even the slightest bit wrong at the start of their series, no matter how much they try and develop into a better character. Why is that? I want to know. You are not going to convince me that this kid is anything less than a scumbag. And not even a lovable one. This kid is lower than dirt, in my opinion. Oh, and don't get me wrong, I will start cutting him some slack the second that anime fans start cutting female characters some slack. So, in other words, never. Tomaki is scum. How he has 3 women falling for him, I have no idea. Also, he openly insults Shakespeare and classical music. You uncultured, uncivilized scumbag. As for Icarus, well, quite honestly, I found her to be boring. At first I thought she was going to be the only character that I liked because, well, she kind of reminded me of Ren.
Okay.
But no, she is in fact really boring. With other characters in this archetype, they had at least something interesting about them, which made you want to find out more about them and see how they adjust to living in a world that they don't understand. However, in Icarus's case, that is just simply not true because she is boring. By the time anything is revealed about her, I was completely beyond the point of caring because she's so boring. Not only that, but some of the logic with her is just awful. Alright, for the first half of the series, she doesn't feel any emotion at all. However, at one point where she's reading up on having emotion and feeling love and she realises she can't feel any of them, she says that it bothers her. However, being bothered by something is linked to having emotion, Icarus! At this point, you're not meant to have emotion. Being bothered is linked to annoyance or anxiety. Things you're not meant to possess at this point. So again, moronic logic that insults the intellect. Later on, when her emotions do get unlocked, however, she gains the ability to cry. How exactly do robots cry? So, you're telling me that whoever invented this super powerful weapon of a robot also thought to put in tear ducts? That's just stupid! Oh, and if that wasn't bad enough, in the very next episode, she's bothered by the fact that she doesn't possess the ability to smile. So, you can cry and yet you can't smile. Rubbish! Oh, and by the way, Tomaki, how exactly is she meant to fake a smile when she doesn't even know how to give a real one? At least tell her what the process of moving the muscles in your face, or whatever equivalent that angeloids have to muscles, involves in order to form a smile before you expect her to form a fake one. Don't just say, fake one. At least tell her how to do that, you moron. But anyway, like I said, Icarus is just really boring. By the time anything relevant came up about her, I was completely beyond the point of caring. Plus, you've never really been good with robots, have you, Kay? That's an irrelevant point, Chrono. Moving on to Sohea. Oh boy, where do I begin talking about how much of a pushover this girl was? Why she's still friends with Tomaki, let alone why she has a crush on him, is beyond me. Oh, because he was nice to her when they were kids. Okay, let's pick apart their backstory, shall we? As a child, she tended to get sick a lot and therefore had to stay indoors a lot, and as a result never got to go to school or make friends. As such, when her birthday rolled around, nobody came. But you just said that you had to spend most of your time indoors and as such didn't get to go to school or make friends, so why exactly were you expecting people to come? The other kids don't know you, so why were you, and your mother for that matter, waiting outside for them to come? You just said you don't know any of them! Okay, but afterwards she decided to go up to her room, where Tomaki happened to be waiting. How exactly did he get into your room without you knowing? How did he get in there without you seeing him beforehand? But in any case, he was sitting there eating her birthday cake. Oh, top notch, kid! Afterwards, he gives her an orange tree seed as a birthday present that his grandfather had at first given to him. It sounds like such a sweet moment. Until you actually put some thought into it. First of all, like I said, how did he get in without you knowing? So basically, this is breaking and entering? Second, he was eating her birthday cake, which she hadn't even started yet, without getting permission to do so. So, theft. Thirdly, oh, he got you your first birthday present, did he? Well, no, actually, he didn't. All he actually did was give you a present that his grandfather had already lovingly given to him beforehand that he didn't actually want. So, in other words, He's being an ungrateful brat. So I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna buy into this reason why the two of them are still friends or why she puts up with this kind of abuse from him. Have some self-respect, woman! You don't deserve to be treated in this manner in which he treats you. Why are you still hanging around with him? Why do you have a crush on him for that matter? What's wrong with you? Surprisingly, Sugata was perhaps the only character that I actually liked. I mean, sure, he's got this weird thing about flying, and if you actually stop and listen to his history lessons and philosophy and all that, it actually doesn't really make a lot of sense in the context of what's going on within the episode. I guess the writers just figured that people would just buy anything if it has enough big words in it. But getting past that, he's actually the only decent character in the series. In the first episode, he's described as being, if you'll pardon the expression, pervy as hell, but the thing is, he really isn't. At all. Especially not when compared to Tomaki. Yeah, he has this weird thing about dolls early on, but that's never brought up past the first couple of episodes. He also knows when to put being perverted aside when there's more important matters at hand, which is way more than I can say for Tomaki. He's also completely willing to put himself in harm's way if it means protecting his friends. Unlike Tomaki, he doesn't have to be browbeaten into anything. He'll just act selflessly without any regard as to whether he'll get anything out of it or not, because he doesn't care. On top of that, he's the only one who is actively looking for the answers to just what Icarus and Nymph are. Whereas with everybody else, it's just like, oh, angeloids, cool, whatever. Plus, the guy wrestles bears on a regular basis. That's pretty hardcore. I felt sorry for the guy. Here we have someone who is actually taking an interest in the strange things that are going on and is actively looking to find the answers, but is willing to put all that aside if it means protecting his friends. It really felt more like he should be the main protagonist, but no, instead we have to focus on that perverted rat. I probably wouldn't have hated the series nearly as much if Sugata was the main character. He is actually a good person. A little odd, but a good person nonetheless. As for his purple friend, well, she frightens me. The purple one seriously has a few screws loose inside her head.
You do know her name's Miko, right? Oh, why do I even bother? You've already decided her name's the purple one, haven't you?
I know she's the daughter of a crime lord and all, but there is something seriously wrong with the purple one. During the flying panties episode, she's perfectly okay with her own panties flying off. She doesn't seem to care at all. She then makes up all this rubbish about what occurred on the event in the next episode, even though she was right there. At one point, Tomaki actually sees her when she's in the bath, and again, she doesn't seem to care. She also has this weird sadistic side to her, but again, that comes down to her being the daughter of a crime lord. Also, during the Summer Festival episode, she decides to hold a gunfight tournament with model guns that shoot fake bullets. But to run this event, she hires a professional assassin who actually adds some live rounds into some of the model guns. Forgetting that that shouldn't actually work, let's pretend that actually makes sense for a moment. Does that mean there's inadvertently been a massacre in their town? Sohea shows up later with one of the guns that has live ammo in it, and it's implied that she took a lot of people down on her way to get there. So basically, you've turned Sohea into a mass murderer. She's inadvertently slaughtered tons of people in their town. But the purple one seems okay with that. Something is wrong with this girl. Oh, and by the way, the fact that Sohea has killed people is never brought up again. Sohea, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You should find yourself a safe house or a relative close by. Lay low for a while, because you're probably wanted for murder. Finally, the only other character in this series that I even remotely cared about, Nymph. First of all, Nymph's introduction is stupid. Everyone is just like, oh, here's another angeloid who's appeared out of nowhere. Okay, whatever. And then they just go on with things regularly without even questioning who she is or why she's there. However, Nymph is a far more interesting character than Icarus. She has the more interesting backstory and actually goes through some proper character development. The fact that she eats a lot confuses me though. Why would a robot need to eat? But getting past that, she's another character who I feel should have been the central focus of the series rather than whom we're meant to focus on because she's a far more interesting character. Hey, anybody who calls Tomaki a bug is okay in my book. Nymph has had a rough life wherein she experienced constant abuse from her master in the New World. Coming down to Earth, she experienced kindness for the very first time in her life, which makes her question where her loyalties lie. I really feel like she should have been the main heroine. Think about it, that would make things far more interesting. Abused girl meets a boy who, while perverted, does show her kindness for the very first time in her life. As the two of them spend time together, the perverted boy realises what a wonderful person she is, and that it shouldn't matter if a woman has oversized breasts or not, it matters what kind of personality she has. That would have been a far more interesting plot. Or what would have made things even better is if her and Sugata were the main characters. Think about that for a second. A boy is obsessed with flying and discovering the new world. A girl falls down from the new world where she has been greatly abused. During her time with this boy, he shows her great kindness, something she's never experienced before. As time goes on, she comes to care for this boy and wants to protect him from the new world he dreams about because she knows it's not the place he thinks it is. This could lead to conflicting emotions within her, not just to where her loyalties lie, but in wanting for this boy to be happy and live for his dreams, but at the same time wanting to protect him from the harsh reality of his dreams. That would have been a halfway decent plot! The more I think about it, the more I think Sugata and Nymph should have been the main characters, rather than the two who were the main characters, because they're far more interesting characters. And that's not a good sign! When I actually care about two minor characters more than I do the two main characters who I'm actually meant to care about, then you're doing something wrong! Alright, that's enough of what I thought about the cast. As much as I'd hate to admit it, the dubbing was actually pretty good in this series. There are some great people like Greg Ayers and Eric Vale in there. But again, this is yet another example of a genuinely terrible anime getting an English dub when there are series that are considered all-time classics that don't yet have a dub.
That's a weird speech impediment you have.
Now, I know a lot of you are going to tell me, watch the second series, it gets so much better. But no, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I didn't even like the first season, so why would I watch the second? Sorry, I am never, and I do mean never, going to watch the second season. I don't see the point. The way I look on it, the second season of an anime can go one of three ways. There's the Mahoromatic way, wherein it forgets why the first season was good and gives you a mediocre and unsatisfying experience. There's the School Rumble way, where, yeah, it's fine, but it doesn't really do anything in terms of advancing the plot, but it's still alright. And then there's the Are My Goddess way, where the second season builds upon plot points that were established in the first, and keeps everything moving forward at the same steady and enjoyable pace that the first season did. Out of these three, guess which route I think this series' second season is going to go down? That's right, the Mahoromatic way. The best this series could possibly hope for is going down the School Rumble way, but even that's a stretch. Even if by some miracle it could go down the Are My Goddess route, that still wouldn't be a good thing because building upon the absolute rubbish of the first season still gives you rubbish for the second season. No matter how much you polish a turd, it's still a turd. Doesn't suck as bad as the previous one is not a good enough reason for me to watch it. So no, I'm not going to watch the second season of Heaven's Lost Property. There you have it. This anime is the worst piece of moronic dribble that I've ever had the misfortune of witnessing in my entire life. The fact that people consider this quality entertainment makes me worry about people today.
This series is turning you into a regular Damien Sandow.
It looks like I must be the intellectual saviour of the unwashed anime fan masses. For I am Damien Sandow. I plan to bring back taste and decency to all you plebeians who believe that this monstrosity qualifies as entertainment.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Silence! And now, a song. I can't stand this programming. It is vile and disgusting. Watching it makes me want to puke.
Oh gosh.
All impersonations aside, this truly was a terrible series. Avoid it like the plague. The fact that this passes for entertainment, it really does make me worry about what happened to class and decency. I'm starting to think that maybe Damien Sandow has the right idea. You really hate this series, don't you? I hate it and the example it sets towards the younger viewers. Tomaki's probably the thing I hate most about it. I know, I heard you the first time. Stand up straight. Maybe that's the attitude you should take with Tomaki. What do you mean? Well, look, Kay, I understand why you hate this series so much. I really do. But if you go on hating it the way you do, then are you really that much better than Takia? What are you getting at, Chrono? What I'm getting at is that Takia is filled with nothing but hatred. Something you're trying to rise above. But how can you do that if you go on hating people like Tomaki? I think you need to practice what you preach. Look, you hate Takia as much as he hates you. And look at where that hatred got you. Ren ended up dead as a result of that hatred. Don't go there, Chrono. Well, something has to get through that thick head of yours. What I'm trying to say is, if you continue down this path of hatred, what do you think it's going to bring you? What do you think it's going to do to your loved ones? So what, you're saying I shouldn't hate Tomaki? That I shouldn't hate Heaven's Lost Property? That I should join in with all these people who are saying this is actually passable writing? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to like this series at all. What I'm trying to say is, it's okay to dislike this series, but you don't need to let yourself be consumed by hatred for it. The Bible teaches us that we need to meet hatred with love. A demon quoting the Bible. I never thought I'd see the day. Okay, what I'm trying to suggest is, instead of hating Tomaki, why don't you become his mentor? His mentor? Are you serious, bro? Yes, I am serious. Why don't you mentor him in how to become a gentleman? Show him that it's okay to have urges, but how to not act on them in a perverted way. Show him how to respect women, how to respect all people. Instead of hating him, why don't you turn him into a better person? Wouldn't that be better than just letting hatred consume you? The kid wants a girlfriend, but the reason he doesn't have one is because of his attitude. You could change that. You could turn him into a decent person. He said that as a child he really loved going on adventures and that he wanted to be a hero and stuff. Maybe you could embody that image of what he wanted to be when he was a child. Maybe that's what it means to rise above hate. Become his role model, huh? Teach him how to be like me. Tomaki really looks up to you, so why not Tomaki as well? You could do it, Kay. You could rise above hate. You could be the Kamina to his Simone. Well, you had me going until you used that example. Alright, I'm sorry. Maybe that wasn't the best example for you. Alright then. Perhaps you could be the Leighton to his Luke. How does that sound? Being that rat's mentor. Again, I'm not saying you have to like this series by any means. But maybe this can be a way for you to dislike the series and yet not be consumed by hatred for it. Therefore you'll prove that you're not like Takia. I'll think about it. Alright, now's the time, KHF. Now's the time I get my revenge on you. The following video is brought to you by Taste and Decency. Are you sure you're going to be able to fight him when the time comes? And there goes my sleeve. At least Love Hina made me laugh once. And I can't actually remember what I was going to say. Okay, I just want to make one point clear to Okay, I just want to make one point clear to everybody. Yes, perverted humour does bother me. There. Okay, I want to make one point clear to everybody. Yes, perverted humour does bother me. I can't stand it when an anime, good or bad, make pervert... I don't think it sets a good example to the younger viewers who are going through a very difficult... If it were just a case of it being bad, I would have just shrugged it off as a forgettable series. But it's the fact that the... So stupid, in fact, that it actually feels like an insult to my intelligence that the creators actually thought that this writing was a... This isn't competent storytelling! It's insulting that you actually think that... Oh gosh. So much quick shouting, I get tongue-tied. This isn't competent storytelling! It's insulting that you think people will be stupid enough to buy into this... This isn't competent storytelling! It's insulting to think that you... Oh gosh. This isn't competent storytelling! It's insulting to think that you...
Ren. That didn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Ren. Why can't I do it right?
Kind of feel like I'm the merchant in Resident Evil 4.
Welcome, stranger. What are you buying? I've grown a beard, apparently.
The fact that it's shown that he does get these urges, and yet doesn't act on them in a perverted manner, shows that he's completely fine with yelling at the... In the first episode, he's described as being, if you'll excuse the term, pervy as hell, but unlike Tomaki, he doesn't have to be browbeaten into anything. He'll just act selflessly. Here we have someone who is actually taking an interest in what's going on and is actively looking for the answers to the mystery. Here we have someone who is actually taking an interest in all the strange things Also, during the summer festival episode... And then there's the Are My Goddess way, wherein the second season builds upon the Wouldn't that be better than just... bit my tongue. His beard looks more like a Daniel Bryan beard than it does Damien Sandow. By the way, make sure to say in the comments section if you think I should make Kami and Fandao a reoccurring character.